Hello, this is Katie from Crafting Ruby Dreams and welcome back to my channel. I talk about planners, goal setting, writing, publishing, and getting right with my finances. Today I'm going to be talking about my savings plan and how to create a savings plan for yourself. There are a lot of videos out there that I highly recommend that you investigate and figure out what style of savings is going to work best for you. But the number one thing that you have to do when creating a savings plan is identify what you are saving for, because once you've done that, you then have to figure out if it is time bound, which means is there a certain date that you have to have all of this money saved for, which means a certain type of strategy. Or if there is no certain date that you need to save by, is there at least a minimum that you need to have saved in order to achieve what it is that you want to achieve? If you have something that is time bound, one strategy that you can do is, especially if you know the amount that you need by this date, you take that amount and then you divide it by the number of paychecks that you are receiving in that period of time. And that will tell you the amount of money that you need to save per paycheck. Another thing that you can do is figure out a graduated amount to save per paycheck until that date. So you start off with, I'm going to start with $5 here, and then the next paycheck it's going to be $10, and the next paycheck it's going to be $15. So lots of different strategies out there, but just remember that if it is time bound, you have to make sure that you're going to have that money by that date. But if there is no set date, having a minimum amount in mind is going to allow you to figure out what strategy is going to work best for you. There's lots of methods of savings. So if you do best with, I'm going to take actual cash and set it aside for this item. You'll see a lot of people do this with cash envelopes on YouTube. And so they will take $5 every paycheck or every time they get paid for something and stick it into the cash envelope for that particular item. And what that means is that that money is physically set aside specifically for that item. And as long as you don't go into that envelope, it's not going to go away. Another method is having multiple savings accounts. I personally have a secondary savings account that I use basically to keep that money out of my sight. I am frequently in my primary account because that's attached to my checking account. So I am in that particular account seeing all the various sub-accounts. So my checking account, my savings account, my line of credit, my various loans. So I see them on a frequent basis. And because I am routinely seeing my regular savings account, my primary savings account, that money's more present in my mind. But because of the secondary savings account, the money that's there, I am not routinely in that account because I don't need to be. I don't think of that money on a routine basis. So it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind type of situation. I know some people, they don't have just one secondary savings account, they have multiple secondary savings accounts, and they are able to have the money automatically transferred out of their primary account into their secondary accounts, and that's how they divide out for the various things they are saving for. If you only have one secondary account where all of your savings money for specific items are going for, you need to keep a log of how much is allotted for each item that you are saving for. If you only have one thing you're saving for, then that's fine. But if you have multiple things you're saving for and they're all going into the same secondary account, or even just your regular savings account, you do need to keep a log of, okay, I've saved this much towards this item and I've saved this much towards that item, because otherwise it's just one lump sum. Keeping your goals at the front of your mind is a good thing, both to remind you to save as well as to give you a sense of progress as to how much that you've saved. So having a log somewhere that you can routinely access, even if you have multiple accounts that you are directing that money towards for each one, is going to be useful to you, in my opinion. Again, there are a lot of videos out there, but those are the top things that I think you need to keep in mind when creating a savings plan. So what is my savings plan? As I mentioned, I have a secondary savings account, and that's where I'm currently funneling the money that I'm saving toward. When I readjusted my money situation in order to take out the loan to cover the credit card debt, I stopped my aggressive savings that I was doing at that point. And I hadn't been doing it for long. I had only been doing it for like a month and a half. And so it's a little frustrating because I was just like, I had this grand plan of, I'm going to be saving towards moving apartments. I'm going to be building up a travel fund for when I can travel again. And I'm going to be saving for a new MacBook and maybe this kind of expensive, but I think well worth it course that I want to take. And it was just like, yeah, no, you need to do this other thing first. And that's something to really keep in mind, is where does the savings fall into your financial priority list? For me, it turned out that paying off debt was a bigger priority for me. But savings is still something I want to do. And so I'm going to be, as I am working through the budget and seeing how much I'm actually spending per month and how much I can cut out, I am going to be carving out a much smaller amount, but an amount that can build over time. And since I don't have specific dates that I need to have the money saved for, except for maybe moving, I still don't have a specific date, but I do have a general timeline in my mind as to when I would like to move apartments. I know that I'm going to have to dip into the savings fund that's already there. And that was the original intention, but it's now kind of also morphed into an emergency fund, because that's something else I also now want to have, a very dedicated emergency fund, rather than, hey, this is what I have in savings, so I guess it'll do, which frequently, yeah. With the way my current job situation stands, I have my job, and my job is very secure, but there is also the possibility of furlough in the near future, that I can see situations where it might happen, but it also might not. I don't know. I'm not going to know until it gets closer to a certain date. And so I want to get over the hump of some specific dates coming up. And once I've cleared those, I have a better sense of what I can use the money that's currently in my savings account for. I would very much like to use it to move, but I need to have it available for the next 4 months, let's say, to be used as my emergency fund to cover my rent if needed. So it's having that balance and knowing that balance and figuring out what your priorities are. When you're creating a savings plan, identify what your goals are, know if they are time bound or not, know if there is a minimum amount that you need or not, and then figure out the mechanism for how you will be saving, if you will be using cash, if you are going to use existing bank accounts, or if you're going to open a new bank account specifically for saving purposes. And if you have a secondary bank account? Is it with an institution that you can then create multiple accounts at for multiple goals if needed? And it's a very simple way to go about creating a basic saving plan, but if you don't already have a savings plan, it's a place to start. So thank you so much for being with me here today. This is October 2020. If you're in the United States, please vote. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you have found anything in this video useful, I hope you will hit the like button and also consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of when future videos are available. Thank you so much for joining me here today, and may all your dreams be Ruby dreams. Bye-bye.